Hello and welcome to the short Vort on Parshas Vayeira from Revii to Chamishi. Today I'd like to answer the questions of why were the daughters of Lot Zocha to have Moshiach come from them, and also why did Moshiach have to come from such unusual sources as from Rus, from the daughters of Lot, from Tamar and Yehuda, all these ways that are not ideal, to say the least. So, one thing is with the plan of the daughters of Lot is they had thought that the world was destroyed, that just like Sodom was destroyed, everyone was destroyed. Even Sohar, the reason they left the city of temporary refuge is because they were afraid that would be destroyed, and that was the daughters' assumption that it was only them, their father and them that was left in the world, and in order to populate the world they had to go about and do this unsavory action, but they felt it was necessary. And Hashem was involved with this plan. This was all part of Hashem's plan. One way the Rabbeinu Bachaya indicates that is because it says that Balayla Hu, instead of Balayla Hahu in the first reference by the first daughter, and that missing Hey is because Hashem was involved in it. And in fact, the fact they got wine, if the world was destroyed, how did they get wine? So Rashi says that Hashem caused in that cave where they were hiding that there would be wine to flow. Otherwise, you would have had to wait for the grain, the vineyards to grow and to press. But it was a miracle in order to facilitate the result and the eventual coming of Mashiach. Even the turning into salt of Lot's wife was necessary, because if she was still alive, then there was no way that this relationship would have happened. That ended up leading to Mashiach. Also in the pasuk it says, "Unechayeh mimenu zera," and we will have a seed from him. And this is talking about a specific seed. Their goal was to make the Mashiach eventually come out from them. And the Shem Yishmuel quotes his Zaidi saying that royalty needed to be imported into the Judaism, that the kingship of David HaMelech had to come from a different source, because all Jews are part of one body, and we're all equal. And your hand is not more important than your nose or your lips. It's all one thing and cannot lord over itself. So we had to bring in that character trait from someone who is from Malchus. In fact, Rus came and she descended from Malchus. She was a princess, and therefore this trait was able to be brought into the Bnei Yisrael in order to bring about their king, David and then Mashiach. Rabbeinu Bachaya also says, when it says, L'cha nashkeh, let us give him to drink, it should have said, according to proper diktuk, L'chi nashkeh, that it should be something feminine. But he says that they needed to inculcate a masculine trait, a way of being forceful to create a positive brazenness, which is why they ended up using the language Me'av and Ben Ami for naming of their children. Like, why would you say that out loud? They said, look, we have to do this. They were very open about it. It's uncharacteristic, but that's a character trait that a king has to be. Sometimes something is not appropriate for a regular person, but it is appropriate for the king to take certain types of actions. And there's an amazing story that I've heard different versions of, but where the daughters of Lot came to someone in a dream or a trance, and they told him that we were not evil. We did it totally lishma. The fact that we named our sons, which would seem to be a bad name to say, look, hey, we had incest, Me'av, it's from my father, was really because we really could have had a different alternative. We could have just said, hey, it was immaculate conception. And as we know, people would have believed that. But they said, no, we want the truth. They were making a theological point that no, that the Mashiach will come from a normal person, and therefore Me'av and Ben Ami. So there was a theological point. Now, as far as why Mashiach comes from improper situations, he also had with Tamar and Yehuda, that he thought he was with a Zona. You could look up that story. It's coming up shortly in a few weeks. So one of the lessons we come from that is we see that David HaMelech, we see that Mashiach came from imperfect yichus. It's not your ideal situation who they came from, but anyone can make their own yichus, anyone can make their own qualities, and Mashiach will make his own qualities that will bring the Gula Meher Yameinu. They also got the character traits from Rus and from Tamar and from the eldest daughter, because Rus was courageous in her actions. Tamar was patient, waiting for Yehuda in order to be the great-great-grandmother of Mashiach, and the first daughter was really, her desire was to save the world. And finally, Rav Gifter says that the Shekhinah needs a perfect world in order to come and settle and return to us, but it can't come until that happens. And our mission is to refine the world, to improve the world, in order to make it appropriate for the Shekhinah to come down in times of Mashiach. And then Mashiach himself also has to be someone who comes from an imperfect situation but refines himself to make the world perfect, and then the Shekhinah will come. And may the Shekhinah come b'mher b'yameinu. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos.